Welcome back to the Mental Dietitian Podcast. I'm your host, Ahren Lynch-Potter. And today's episode, I'm going to do completely on the fly. Sometimes this goes well, sometimes it doesn't. I guess we'll find out. And the question that I was asked to make a podcast episode about, which I think is really good, is how do I decipher what I can control and what I cannot control? And then how do I work through both processes? Okay, how do we break this down using my wonderful mind that can construct lots of different ways of explaining and overcomplicating things? I'm very good at that. Pontificating, I'm fantastic at it. It's also has its downfalls. When if you just do it for too long, when you just need to do the fucking thing. So, how do I know what I can control and what I cannot control? How do I decipher what I can control and what I cannot control? Well, let's start off first and foremost that you can only control what you do. That would be the foundation that you can work from. You can only really control your own actions. And I would take a step back and say that your emotions, your thoughts, and your feelings are your responsibility. Now, can you control them all the time? No, not a chance. The subconscious is at play, and the subconscious and the conscious. I heard a great analogy. It's like a little kid sitting on a 2,000-pound elephant. That's the conscious sitting on top of the subconscious. So we cannot always control. That's not anything you try to control, especially on the inner world, will usually fight you and be like, fuck you. Anything you try to eliminate or get rid of or anything like that will actually amplify the thing that you don't like. So for anxiety, depression, negative thoughts, whatever you want to get rid of, that will be a hard time. That's a recipe for creating the very thing that you want to get rid of. But your actions, what can you control and what can you not control? Very simply, you can only control what you do. You can control the effort, but you cannot control the outcome. That's why going after your goals and dreams, it's a risk because you could put all the effort into the world. You could put everything in, you could give it your all, and you cannot control the outcome. It's equal opportunity in this world. We all have the opportunity to do things with our life, make choices, make decisions. Now, a lot of people have deep emotional undercurrents and undertows that come from their own life, their family's upbringing. If you grew up in an environment that was full of alcoholics or grew up in an environment that was drugs and abuse, that's going to be a hard water to leave. Very, very difficult. And then if you grew up in a community that was like that, and then there's societal expectations. So we all have equal opportunity, but we all kind of start at different places. And some people, just to get on a consistent fitness regime, may have to do so much deep inner work about why they think they deserve to be healthy and fit. And other people will just be like, yep, got it. Those two individuals can still make choices. So what can we control? Our choices. What we do and how we do it. What we cannot always control, based on those deep emotional undercurrents that I like to talk about, is why we do things, especially if you don't know why you do certain things. But once you figure out why, oh, okay, I have these patterns in my life because that's what I learned growing up from my parents, and then I continued implementing them. And the benefit that I was getting from it was this. And also how it is not serving me is this. So when I look at this thing, because there's always a benefit, every single time, there's a benefit to taking heroin if you're a drug addict. There's a benefit to cheating on your wife if you are cheating on your wife. There's a benefit to scrolling through Instagram. There's a benefit to watching TV all the time. There's a benefit to whatever actions you do, because if there was no benefit, you would not do it. That is so important. until you find the benefits of the thing that is causing your suffering, then you will continue to do it and maybe not know why, and then just be like, oh, it's just fucking up my life. Yes, it is fucking up your life, but there's also a small benefit or even a big benefit. Until you do that, actually, no, you can do the what and the how at the same time. You can either push yourself or you can let your dreams pull you. So pushing is like, I don't want to do this anymore, and using that these patterns and these things that you feel like you cannot control as fuel to push you and propel you. It's like getting backed into a corner, hitting rock bottom, whatever you want to call it. That's pushing you. And then your dreams and your goals and the real positive vision of your life can pull you. So yeah, in a nutshell, you can only control your actions, which is what am I going to do and how am I going to do it? And if you focus on the what and the how versus being stuck in the why all the time, if you're stuck in the why all the time, it reminds me of a woman that was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and she wrote a book. I've forgotten what the book is called, but she was talking about how a lot of conventional therapy does not actually work because a lot of people are just talking about their problems, and the more you focus on something, the more it expands. Where focus goes, energy flows, right? So there's a lot of people out there that say that conventional therapy does not work if you just talk about it. There's an extra layer that when you talk about something, you got to feel what it is you're talking about. You can't just skim across the surface like a rock that's skimming across the surface of an ocean or a lake. It has to sink, it has to submerge into the deep feelings of it. Otherwise, you're just talking, 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 and you're not actually feeling. And you got to feel to heal. It's simple as that. And once you do that, you combine the talking and the feeling, and that's when you can release some of those big why things that are maybe holding you back, which will help you make the decisions of what and the how. And it all can happen at the same time. It doesn't need to, you don't need to do one before the other. You can do it all at the same time. But if you are really focused on that, I think that the what you can control and what you cannot control gets real fucking simple. Real simple. You can't control anybody else. I can't control Lexi, my partner. There's nothing I tried for years. I tried to control her for years. Be like, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. Thinking that I knew what was better for her life than she did. And a lot of people do that from a what they think is a well-meaning way, a well-meaning place. But anytime you try to save somebody, you think that they are helpless. Anytime somebody needs help, there's this kind of feeling that they're weak. Oh, so the weak and downtrodden need help, which is true. But if it's your partner and you're looking at them as weak, or if you're trying to fix them, you see them as broken. But if you focus on yourself and what you can control, then the way that you live your life can say everything you need to say without ever saying a word. It's a beautiful quote I heard recently. I've heard it before, but it came back into my awareness and it's beautiful. And it said, wherever you go, preach the gospel and sometimes use words. And if you don't understand that, it says, preach the gospel by how you live your life. And the gospel, if you don't like that word because of the religious undertones of it, it's basically saying, shut up, live your life, and let that be the message. Let that be your gospel. Wherever you go, preach the gospel and sometimes use words. So you can only control you. You can only control your actions and how you do it. And the other half of the question is what you cannot control, which is basically everything else. I can't control the weather. I can't control anything else. I can have standards for myself and what I can control and back those standards up by action, and that's it. And the rest of it, just know that there's a universal law that if you put 1 unit in, if you put 10 units of effort into something and you only get 1 unit of results, maybe because you need to get better at it, then one day it'll put 10 units of effort, you get 2 units of results. And eventually it'll get to the point where you put 10 units of effort and you get 10 units of results. But that takes years. Sometimes you get to the point where you put 1 unit of effort in and you get 10 units of result. Say if you have a business or you're expanding or you're building a YouTube channel, you're building an Instagram follower subscriber base, or you're selling a course, or you wrote a book, or you made a song. Mariah Carey wrote that Christmas song, and I think she wrote it in 15 minutes. And that's the perfect example of 1 unit of effort is infinite unit of results. She's made tens and tens of millions of dollars from that song. But who she is and how she got there probably started at a very young age when she was singing, and she had to become Mariah Carey to make that Christmas song so that her 1 unit of effort over 15 minutes produced 30, 40, 50 million dollars from one freaking song. So that's an example of it takes years. You can only do what you can control. And what you can control is your actions, your output, and how you go about that. That's it. And really, like, how do you decipher that? Very simple. Can I do anything right now with my actions in this situation without disrespecting somebody else's path and not allowing them to grow because I'm doing it for them? That's where a lot of people have a hard time. It's like, I'll just do it for this person. Do you want to teach them how to fish, or do you want to give them a fish? Well, I want to teach them how to fish. Cool. Stop doing shit for them all the time and watch them flounder, watch them suffer a little bit, watch them drown a little bit. They need to drown a little bit to learn how to swim. Oh, but that's uncomfortable. Yeah, but that's why your business was remaining the same size it is. Ah, well, that's why your relationship is remaining the same it is. That's why your health is remaining the same it is, because you are trying to do things for other people. It's taking your time and energy, and it's an energy leak. And you got to make sure that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You got to fill your cup first. So that would be how I would answer that question. I don't really need to say much more. Whatever it is, if you have a hard time deciphering what you can control and what you cannot control, go back and listen to this again. And I know that if you apply those principles about when you come across the situation in your life, I think you'll be in a really good place, really aligned place to make decisions from. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.